a spin in this chair. What is up, YouTube? It's been a long summer and I'm so happy to be back down here in South Carolina. If you're in the Greenville area, be sure to stop downtown, say hey to me sometime when I'm playing on the street. But anyway, let's jump right into it. Here are 7 things that I wish I would have known when I started playing music. Alright, number 1, the first thing is that muscle memory takes a long time to develop. I've been working on my feet a lot more recently, trying to get them up to speed, playing faster patterns. And some of the simplest patterns that I've been trying, such as like doubles and threes and like, hurdas, have taken a super long time to develop, like 6 months or more, I'm talking. I know every once in a while I find a video on YouTube of someone just like blasting out this weird technique and I'm just like, what the, where do I start? So what I'm trying to tell you guys is, on my journey, I've found that these guys have been doing this for a really long time. So be patient with yourself and your muscle memory will get there, and the techniques that you see these guys doing on YouTube, you can learn them too. You need to be persistent. Just keep at it and you'll eventually get there. Number 2, alright, consistency is the best quality a musician can have. 5 minutes a day is going to go a lot further for you as a player than 8 hours once a month. Oftentimes, if I can just convince myself to start and commit to 5 minutes, it'll often turn into half an hour or more of like focused, dedicated practice. So an analogy that I'd compare this to is like cramming for a test versus studying every day. Chances are, if you cram for a test, you get stressed out, you don't really do that well on it, but if you just take a little bit of time every day to study for that exam, you do a lot better in the long run, and it takes like a lot of anxiety and stress off yourself. So try and work that into your practice routine and you'll see consistent results. So if you can get into a routine, you'll be able to look back at all your performance plateaus, I like to call them, and just look at yourself and be like, oh yeah, I remember learning that, and you'll be able to see how you progress as a player, and it's really cool the further and further you get into it. So I guess in a nutshell, stay consistent and you will see consistent results as a player. Alright, moving on to point number 3. Okay. So if you can air drum it, you can play it. Seriously though, if you can tap a pattern on a desk or a table or something and annoy everyone else around you, you're gonna be able to play it. And the reason for that is because there's no rebound. I'll just be sitting at my computer, watching YouTube or editing a video or something, and I'll be doing triplets on my feet, and eventually, my foot gets used to that motion, and I'm able to play patterns a lot faster when I actually sit down at the kit. So this point also leads me into my 4th point, which is that you need to emphasize control over speed as a player. And this is really tough to do for people that are new, me included, because when you sit down at the kit, all you want to do is just go fast and bust out these awesome licks. But what I found is that practice makes permanent. So if you're doing something wrong, it's going to take a lot more time in the future to go back and fix that poorly executed technique. It took me like 9+ years to develop this sort of patience with myself, or if I'm trying to learn something new, I can actually sit down and just start slow until I get everything nice and even, and then speed it up in slower increments. And if you're able to do that, you will not only progress faster, but you will see better results. So one example of this, or one exercise I've been doing is everything I've been doing on the street or in practice, I've been trying to play a lot more left-hand lead, so a lot more open hand. And what that does is, I'm used to leading everything with my right, but when I start with my left, I notice that my speed is worse, my control is worse, everything is worse. I do this because I know that my left hand is actually what's holding me back from reaching higher tempos, so I'm trying to train it to be as strong as my right. So I took up all that time in a really fancy way to say that start slow, be patient with yourself, learn it the right way the first time, and you'll save yourself a really big headache in the future. Okay, number 5. This is a tough one for me to grasp even, because so many things in life are competitive, and I think one of the reasons I love music so much is that it's not competitive because there's a huge creative aspect to it. So number 5 is you don't have to be the best to find success. The best example I can personally give of that is my first year compared to my second year street performing. So my first year Hello Kitty, it was all really new to me. It was goofy, you know, I was loving it. I wasn't necessarily the best player or anything, but people really accepted it just for what it was. And then my second year I actually turned it into my full-time job, but the better I got at it, it seemed like the worse I did financially on a per night basis. And for that reason, that's what makes music so beautiful, is there's a creative aspect to it that makes music non-competitive. Your goal should not to be better than everyone in Guitar Center. Your goal should be competing against yourself to be a better player than you were yesterday. And another example, if music were a competition, Infant Annihilator and Rings of Saturn would be winning, and unfortunately these guys are still really underrated. So there are so many other attributes that play into having a successful music career. And being the best doesn't guarantee a fulfilling gig. You know, there are other things such as like personality and being on time and like other soft skills and just like being a good person and easy to work with that'll land you a gig other than just being able to play blast beats at 400 BPM or whatever. So in a nutshell, do your best, always strive to be better, and most importantly, fill your role within your gig. So moving on to point 6 then, since it's not all about being perfect and being the best, there's no reason to have performance anxiety, and I still struggle with this personally. But we're not designing bridges, and lives are not at stake here. The more confident and the more you enjoy yourself when you're playing your show, the better others will see you. And that's what makes performance anxiety so frustrating and tough to cope with, because it's like, if I could just relax, you know, I'd be better in the eyes of the people here. But you know, it's tough. You know, like I said, I still struggle with it. But I want you guys to know that it gets easier the more you do it. And that's why it's so important to play as many gigs as you can with as many other types of people as you can. Make the stage your home, and those sweaty palms that you have at the next big gig will go away the more comfortable you become. Lastly, the 7th point I want to tell you guys is that the pros has so much time into their craft, so don't compare yourself to them or anyone else that's successful online. There's no get-rich-quick scheme in music. So for all you guys that claim Tony Royster, I highly recommend a book called Peak that I recently read that kind of debunks the theories of child prodigies. Basically it says that anyone that's very good at something at a young age has been taught the right way and has put an immense amount of time in. So don't drop your sticks because you never think you're going to be as good as someone else. Look at that person as a source of inspiration and say, I could be that good if I have as much time into the craft as them. Anyway, give the book a read, check it out, the link's in the description. Remember that you don't have to be the best to find success, so use those crazy videos you find of, you know, Eric and Prada doing a handstand on a drum throne as an inspirational tool, not a reason to throw your sticks away, because that's not what this is about. Make music your creative outlook, have fun, and be a better person than you were the day before.